G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Time for a mad scientist video. Reading from New Scientist, 4th of August 2018. Wherein at, from out of the veritable feast of articles and information, it pleases me to present for you two. First, we have what may be considered an update to an old video I made about Toxoplasma gondii. This is a protozoan parasite which it cycles between felines and rodents and primates. The protozoan breeds in the alimentary canal between the mouth and the anus of a feline. It's a pussycat all the way up to a lion or a tiger or a cheetah or panther. It emerges in the cat poo. The cat licks its bum and grooms itself and manages, it's also got infective saliva. It manages when it catches a mouse or a monkey, depending on whether it's a big cat or a little cat, bites and torments and spits on the monkey and infects the monkey or infects the mouse with toxoplasma. The toxoplasma protozoan then moves from the bloodstream to the brain of the rodent or the primate and forms cysts. And the cysts proceed to secrete neuroactive chemicals like serotonin and dopamine and fiddle with the behaviour of the host. And in specific ways, effectively making humans with toxoplasma cysts in their brain equivalent to being 3 standard drinks drunk. They're a bit clumsy, they take risks, they don't think things through, they're more sexually promiscuous. People who are involved in motor vehicle accidents and pedestrian road accidents, 60% of them have antibodies to Toxoplasma gondii, whereas only 30% of the population at large has antibodies to Toxoplasma gondii. So it's fair to say that people who are infected with Toxoplasma gondii, they have twice the individual risk or rate of having car accidents and road accidents. There was once a move to have airline pilots and taxi drivers tested, but the unions beat it down. So, yeah, that's what Toxoplasma gondii does in humans. The idea is that it makes mice and rats and primates unafraid of the smell of cat urine. It makes rodents less afraid of encounters with cats. It makes primates less afraid of encounters with big cats. And this is useful for the feline to be able to get more prey. So release an infected prey animal and it infects all the local prey, and then it's easier to catch all of them. It's also sexually transmitted in humans and in rodents. Interesting. Okay, so here's what it says in 4th of August 2018's New Scientist. Entrepreneurial spirit more likely if you have cat parasite. Students in the US who have a type of brain parasite carried by cats are more likely to be majoring in business studies. The pets are hosts for the protozoan parasite Toxoplasma gondii. It can infect people through contact with cat feces, contaminated water, or poorly cooked meat from infected livestock. As many as 1/3 of the world's population may have it. The parasite doesn't usually make us feel sick, but it forms cysts in the brain where it can remain for the rest of a person's life. Some studies have linked the infection with slower reaction times, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, suicidal behaviour, and explosive anger. Now an analysis of almost 1,300 US students has found that those who had been exposed to the parasite were 1.7 times more likely to be doing a business major. In particular, they were more likely to be focusing on management and entrepreneurship than other business-related areas. The study also found that professionals attending business events were almost twice as likely to have started their own business if they were T. gondii positive, and that countries with a higher prevalence of the infection show more entrepreneurial activity. The team behind the study says their results suggest that the parasite may be involved in reducing a person's fear of failure and high-risk, high-reward ventures. Rodents infected with T. gondii are known to become less fearful of encountering cats. Proceeds of the Proceedings of the Royal Society, B, doi.org/CSH7. Okay, so the same cat-based parasite, which is otherwise feeling trapped in the brain of a rodent or a primate, and what it really wants to do is get its primate or rodent host killed by a cat, so the cat can then eat the brain so that the protozoan can get back into the intestines of the cat so that it can then breed and make more protozoans, because that's the object of the species, is to make more of the species. This same protozoan that has enslaved cats, rats, mice, monkeys, and people, which makes people twice as likely to have road accidents, causes them to embark on high-risk behaviour and promiscuous behaviour, all of which breeds more of them so that it makes more cat food. The people who are diseased, prisoners of the protozoan, you might say, they gravitate towards busyness studies where they specialise in entrepreneurship and doing risky, stupid things with the environment for the sake of profit, high risk, high reward stuff. How curious. How very, very curious. Why am I not surprised? And then, beside the cat parasite, which apparently runs the commercial ventures which finance all of human activity, we have this article on cicadas. Sex-mad cicadas are on drugs. Castration and then involuntary simulated chemsex. That's the fate that awaits cicadas infected by the Massospora fungus, according to researchers who discovered psychoactive compounds in fungal growths in the stricken insects. Psychoactive compounds. Massospora infections in cicadas are associated with, quote, hypersexual, unquote, activity, including cases, for example, in which males suddenly attempt to mate with other males. This appears to help spread the fungus. Okay. But the fungus makes these forays a miserable venture. When infected cicadas first try to mate, the end of their abdomens, including genitalia, are often pulled off. This abdominal mass is replaced by a large fungal plug, bracket, the white part of the cicada in the image below, close bracket. Matt Casson at the West Virginia University and his colleagues looked at 56 plugs, 56 of them, and found that about half contained either an amphetamine or psilocybin or psilocin. You're a very, very stoned little cicada. The active ingredient of magic mushrooms, BioR14, doi.org/CSK2. Yeah, well, I would have said that psilocybin or psilocin often found in magic mushrooms, but I thought amphetamine was not in there at all. It's a different thing. But I may be mistaken. I've never eaten a magic mushroom. And the closest I've ever had to an amphetamine was a taste of dexedrine in about 1984. So I'm no expert. But I did hear in 1984, 85 in a coffee shop that people were combining amphetamine with LSD, which is kind of sort of similar to psilocybin and psilocin. And they were calling their cocktail of LSD plus amphetamine, quote, crank, unquote. So these cicadas appear to be cranked in the vernacular of the time. It isn't clear exactly what function these chemicals play, but it is plausible that they help improve the insect's endurance as they embark on fungus-fueled sex. Says Carissa DeBecker at the University of Central Florida. She and her colleagues have shown that Ophiocordyceps fungal infections in ants secrete LSD-like compounds. So, yeah, these Americans are spending a lot of time looking for LSD-like compounds in their insects, apparently. Without appearing too suspiciously paranoid, one wonders how long it might be before the swamplands of Florida are swamped, pardon the pun, by people from the towns and cities who are out there hunting cicadas on the theory that if 56 plugs were studied and half of them contained psilocybin or psilocin or amphetamine, and if you grabbed a hold of 10 cicadas, then half of them would have either amphetamine or psilocybin or psilocin in their white fungal plugs if they were 10 infected cicadas. The research that I imagine the backyard scientists, the citizen scientists, would be pursuing is the subject of how many infected cicada plugs must one partake before a city hippie can begin to feel trippy from the effects of the sex-mad cicadas. Not to forget the all-important question, just how do you process the cicadas in order to go tripping on the fungus that they are infected with? There you go. Those of you in Florida, within catching distance of a potentially infected cicada, do we have any answers? Warbles on a lot to YouTube. New Scientist as reviewed. By a mad scientist. Ciao.